This is the DiscoveryOpt LHT, a budget first focal plane scope with an impressive 4.5 to 18 magnification range. 4.5 is kind of a strange number for a scope. It's like those guys who always insist on adding 1/2 inch to their height. If you know what I'm talking about, leave me a comment. But if you'd like to find out how well the scope performs, well, stick around and we'll find out. Let's keep this unboxing short so we can just see what you get inside of the box. This is the DiscoveryOpt LHT 4.5 to 18 power scope, and it has a relatively small 42mm objective lens. And the advantage of that, of course, is a smaller objective means a smaller glass, means less weight. And this is a relatively lightweight hunting scope, or long-range magnified scope. Pretty standard size for a deer hunting scope, typical like a 3 to or 4 to 12 or 3 to 9, about a little over 13 inches long. And yeah, pretty lightweight. And it does come with a sunshade in the front, so that would make it a fair bit longer should you decide to put that on here. Now, one interesting feature, and this is all metal construction by the way with a 30mm tube, is that there's a little seam here, and I'm wondering if that's sort of a cost-cutting measure, because this is a relatively inexpensive scope for an 18 power max scope. I'm wondering if that allows them to use the same back with just changing out the front and for different sized objectives. Or maybe it's a feature, because this is a good physical limit to where you should put your rings. You don't want to accidentally put your rings too close to your turret, your reticle erector mechanisms, and accidentally bind your reticle. This is definitely a physical barrier, or at least indicator that this is as far back as you want to go with your rings towards the turrets. Now, the turrets themselves, here we have our illumination, we have our parallax focus, which share the same turret. It's powered by a 2032 coin battery, which is underneath this cap that you can unscrew with your fingers. It has illumination from 1 to 6 with an off in between each of the illumination settings, and we'll take a look at the illumination a bit later. 2032 coin battery did come with mine, but in future I hear that the federal government is restricting shipping of lithium batteries, which coin batteries are for the most part. Now, our parallax focus goes all the way down to a minimum focus of 10 yards, which is great if you're using an air gun, or if you're taking care of pests and varmints on your property. 10-yard minimum focus is great for short range use. And our elevation and our windage turrets are locking. You pull up to unlock, and they're very audible, very loud, tactile positive. I can feel each of the clicks, and a little bit of slop in between each of the clicks. And there's a sign of a budget scope, and this is a very affordable scope. The turret does not exactly match the indicator on the base there. So yeah, that'll happen with budget scopes, but these are resettable. You can unscrew this screw here with a coin, and it does come with a plastic tool so you don't mar the surface, but you can unscrew that and reset your turret once you have your scope zeroed out, your reticle zeroed out for your rifle and ammo. And each click is a quarter MOA. Let's take a listen to our windage. A little bit louder. Again, tactile positive with a little bit of wiggle, a little bit of slop in between each of the clicks. And lockdown. Actually, this one seems to match up a little bit more precisely than our elevation. So yeah, again, quarter MOA per click, and our magnification ring turns with a little bit of grit, but pretty good. And it has this little mini nub, kind of like a mini throw lever. It helps you turn it with a little bit of better leverage if you have gloved hands in the cold. And our diopter focus turns relatively smoothly. So overall, not bad for an affordable or value tier scope, the LHT. We'll get this mounted up. We'll put in some rings, and this smaller bell means that I can probably use lower height rings. Well, again, it depends on your particular mount, setup, and rail. But we're going to try putting some low rings on this, and we'll get it out to the range to test out next. Before we get started with the test, I'd just like to take a quick break here to talk about this episode's sponsor, Aura. For the cost of just a VPN, I'm getting a whole suite of security services, including $1 million in identity theft insurance, and they're even removing me from those damn data broker listings. Use my link, aura.com/moondog, and you can try them for 14 days, free. And if you use that link, you're helping to support this channel. You know, identity fraud is a real thing, and with AI, it's all too easy to spoof your identity. That's why you should try out Aura. All right, let's get back to the tests. We are looking through the DiscoveryOpt LHT at the peak of Mount Davidson, approximately 1,500 yards away. We have the scope set at its lowest power of 4.5 to get our best overall image through the glass. And this is a very challenging lighting condition and weather conditions we're looking at here. There is a fog bank or low clouds that have settled up over the top of the hill there. So if you're seeing overall view is looking kind of milky, no, that's not the scope. It's actually the actual real weather conditions out here today. So this is actually a pretty good indication of how good of an image you're going to get in the worst possible conditions in low light and foul weather, minus the rain. So this is actually a pretty good representation of what I'm seeing with my naked eye in the real world. There's a low cloud bank up there, so it is what it is. What I am seeing, though, is pretty color accurate overall. It looks pretty much what I'm seeing through my naked eye. And I'm not seeing very much, if anything, in terms of chromatic aberration. That may be because of the lighting conditions overall, but it's actually looking pretty good. I do see a little bit more softening around the outer edges than I do with Discovery Optics higher end scopes, but still pretty darn good. There is a noticeable softening that I'm seeing with my naked eye around the outer edge with this, so there is a difference from center to the outer edge. Now I'm going to bring this up about halfway in its magnification range, which is typically a scope's sweet spot overall. And it's still pretty good in terms of representing what I'm seeing with in the real world. I know if I'm going to say it's a sharp, clear image, well, it's not a sharp, clear day, so it's kind of hard for me to say that and for you to quite grasp what I'm saying here. But yeah, this is actually pretty accurate to the real world. Maybe a little bit of chromatic aberration in the high contrast areas, but still pretty darn good. And again, we're seeing a little bit of softening from center to the outer edge. Now let's bring this all the way up to its maximum magnification, and we've lost quite a bit of light, but I can barely see the trail marker sign. That's that white object to the right and a little bit above the center crosshairs. And given the foggy conditions, it's actually quite remarkable that I can actually see it despite the conditions as they are. That is about a 3-foot-ish sign on top of a pole, which is a good proxy for an IPSC target at this distance. We're looking through the Discovery Optics LHT at our reference target board downrange 100 yards away, and we have the scope set at its lowest power of 4.5 to give our best overall image. And what I'm seeing is actually pretty good. There is a noticeable chromatic aberration around high contrast areas, like the target frames on either side of our reference board, and of course the sunlit ground. But I can see some detail even in shadowed areas like the backstop behind our targets. There is some softening around the outer edge, a little bit of distortion, but overall better than I was expecting. Now this is a good opportunity to check our range of adjustments, starting with our elevation. And that is the very topmost. And we can compare this visual test with our specs that I posted up earlier. And that is the very bottom. All right, let's dial this back to factory 0 on the turret. Let's check our windage. That's the very rightmost. And that's the very leftmost. So about a full target board's worth of adjustments. Now let's bring up our magnification all the way up to its maximum of 18 and take a look at our board now. You can see some chromatic aberration, some color fringing around the outer edges, but overall not bad in terms of detail. A little bit on the warm side, but you can check out the color intensity on the color card in the top left. There's still some reasonable detail. You can see fine lines on the grid target board on the part of our board there. And since we are lined up to the bottom left corner highlight of that grid target, this is a good opportunity to do a box test. Start with our elevation and do a full rotation on that. And then let's do a full rotation on our windage. Now let's turn that elevation back to factory 0. And now let's turn our windage back to factory 0. And we're right on. This is an opportunity to do even more of a torque test on these turrets. We're going to do the nipple twister test coined by buddy Cyclops Joe, and we're just going to turn the heck out of these turrets and see if it'll come back to its original starting point when we dial these back to their 0 on the turrets. So let's start with our elevation, and then let's turn back our windage to factory 0. By gosh, we are spot on. Okay, let's tilt down our scope a little bit to clear the bottom part of our reference target board. And I can make out bullet hits on the reactive sticker target on the bottom left target on that board. And I can faintly see 2 tiny 22 caliber holes below that reactive sticker target, but they are quite faint. So not super high contrast on this particular scope. And on our resolution chart on the bottom right, I can make out both horizontal and vertical lines all the way down to element 2 in group -1, which is actually pretty good for a budget scope. Let's check out the illumination. I'm going to set this at its maximum of 6 intensity. And you can barely see that, so it's certainly not daylight bright. But let me put my hand in front of the bell so hopefully you can see what's illuminated. Still not super clear, but let me bring up our magnification all the way to 18, and you can see that a little more clearly there. There is a highlight on the center dot on the center crosshairs there, and I put my hand in front of it. You can see that a little more clearly, as well as key points. Before we talk about the LHT, I just want to remind you to hit the like and the subscribe button right now. It's absolutely free. It just takes a second to do that. So thanks for taking a moment to press those buttons. And thanks to Discovery Optics for sending out their new LHT. This is the new 4.5 to 18 model. It's practically physically identical to the 3 to 12 model, which I've also reviewed, and you can find a link to that video in this video's description. It's just a wee bit longer to accommodate the higher magnification, but really it's not that big. It's surprisingly small for a 4.5 18 power scope. In fact, it's not that much bigger than my traditional 3 to 9 power scope, and this actually has a better eye relief than my traditional 3 to 9, though it is a budget scope, so there are some compromises. It doesn't have the most forgiving eye box out there. But did I mention that this was a budget scope? This has a street price under $150 right now. I don't know, how much is it where you are or when you're watching this? Let me know, leave me a comment about that. But yeah, for this price point, you're getting a lot of scope. So if you're interested in picking up one of these, you can find more information about it in the video description. And of course, you can always read my blog, moondogindustries.com, for more details and in-depth analysis of this scope, including specs. So thanks for taking a moment to check those out, and thanks for taking the time to watch this video. God bless. Moondog out. What did you think of the video? Leave me a comment, and you can always chat with me on X, Facebook, or Instagram. You can find useful links in the video description, and check out my other videos, channels, and my website, moondogindustries.com.